There are moments in history when the universe holds its breath, when the course of civilizations pivots on a single choice, a solitary decision that echoes across generations. This is the story of humanity's longest night and the dawn that followed, a tale of rejection, perseverance, and the fierce determination to prove that no voice is too small to matter. Dr. Elena Okonkwo sat in the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel Horizon's Edge, her fingers trembling against the cool glass as she watched the stars blur past. At 32, she had been chosen to represent Earth's scientific community at what everyone hoped would be humanity's triumphant entry into the Galactic Federation. Her dark eyes reflected the distant galaxies, but her mind was elsewhere, replaying the words she had prepared for this moment. Words that now seemed so naive, so hopeful. Beside her, Ambassador Thomas Reeves checked his tablet for the 100th time. The silver-haired diplomat had spent 40 years in service, negotiating peace treaties and trade agreements across Earth's fractured nations. He had finally united them under one banner, one dream, to join the wider galactic community. His weathered face bore the marks of someone who had fought for every victory, but today, uncertainty clouded his usually confident expression. Captain Reza Bashir commanded the vessel with quiet competence. The young pilot had grown up hearing stories of first contact, of the day humanity learned they were not alone. He had trained his entire life for this moment, believing that by the time he reached the stars, Earth would already have its place among the galactic powers. Reality, as he was learning, rarely matched childhood dreams. The communication from the Galactic Federation Council arrived exactly on schedule. Elena watched as the holographic display materialized in the center of the observation deck, the alien script flowing across the projection like water. The translation algorithms worked quickly, converting the message into something humans could understand. Application for Federation membership. Status denied. Elena felt her heart sink. Those 4 words carried the weight of every human aspiration, every sacrifice made to reach this point. But it was the explanation that followed that truly cut deep. Species classification developmental. Technological assessment insufficient. Cultural maturity questionable. Strategic value negligible. Recommendation: reapply in approximately 800 to 1,000 standard galactic years. Thomas read the message aloud, his voice steady despite the devastation in his eyes. They suggest we focus on internal development. They note our location in a sparse region of space far from major trade corridors. They observe that our technology, while admirable for a young species, lacks the sophistication necessary for meaningful contribution to galactic affairs. Reza slammed his fist against the console. Insufficient. We've mapped 30 star systems. We've established colonies on 7 worlds. We've achieved faster than light travel in less than 2 centuries of spaceflight. They've had it for 200,000 years, Elena said quietly. She had studied the Federation's history, understood the scope of their civilization. To them, we're children playing with toys we barely understand. The journey back to Earth took 6 weeks. 6 weeks of silence, of processing what it meant to be told you don't matter. The crew of Horizon's Edge maintained professional composure, but Elena could feel the crushing disappointment that permeated every corridor, every conversation. They had reached for the stars and been told to go back home. Earth's response was chaos. Protests erupted in major cities. Scientists demanded answers. Politicians blamed each other for the failure. The dream of galactic citizenship, which had united humanity like nothing before, fractured into 1,000 angry voices. Elena found herself thrust into the spotlight. As the senior scientist on the delegation, reporters sought her perspective. She stood before cameras in Geneva, choosing her words carefully. The Federation has spoken. We have a choice now. We can accept their assessment, retreat into isolation, and wait the centuries they've prescribed. Or we can prove them wrong. But proving them wrong seemed impossible. How could humanity compete with civilizations that had been exploring space since before humans had discovered agriculture? How could they matter to a galaxy that had clearly moved on without them? Director James Wu took charge of Earth's Galactic Affairs Bureau 3 months after the rejection. At 65, the former military strategist brought a different perspective to the crisis. He called Elena to his office in the newly constructed orbital command center above Singapore. "I've read your reports," Wu said, his sharp eyes studying her. "You understand them better than most. Tell me honestly, Do we have any chance of changing their minds? Elena considered the question carefully. Not by doing what they expect. The Federation operates on established principles, tested technologies, proven methods. They've refined their approach over millennia. We can't catch up by following their path. Then we find a different path. That could take centuries. We might fail completely. Wu smiled, but there was steel in it. Then we fail spectacularly. But I refuse to accept that humanity's role in this galaxy is to be forgotten, to be a footnote in someone else's history. He pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's current technological capabilities. We've been trying to impress them with what we have. Instead, we should be developing what they don't have. Technologies they never needed because their solutions already worked. Approaches they never considered because they never had to. Elena felt something stir in her chest, an ember of possibility. That would require resources, time, complete secrecy. If the Federation knew what we were attempting, they might see it as aggressive. Let them, Wu said. I'm tired of asking permission to matter. Over the next year, Earth began to change. The public face showed acceptance, even resignation. Diplomatic missions were quietly withdrawn. The embassy station, that beautiful symbol of hope, was abandoned. Human ships stopped traveling to Federation space. To the galaxy, it appeared humanity had accepted their place and retreated to lick their wounds. Behind closed doors, something entirely different was happening. Wu assembled teams of the brightest minds from every discipline. He gave them one directive: find solutions the Federation never imagined. Fail faster, learn quicker, and never ever give up. Elena led the theoretical physics division. Her team included researchers from 40 nations, all bound by a common purpose. They worked 18-hour days, pushing the boundaries of what humanity thought possible. The failures came often, sometimes catastrophically. A research station in orbit around Jupiter was destroyed when an experimental drive test went wrong. 17 scientists died. Elena attended every funeral, carried every name. But slowly, impossibly, they began to succeed. Small breakthroughs at first, then larger ones. Technologies that shouldn't work according to Federation principles but somehow did. Each success was documented, tested, and kept absolutely secret. Earth was building something in the shadows, and the galaxy had no idea. 4 years after the rejection, Elena stood in a laboratory deep beneath the lunar surface and watched as her team activated the first prototype quantum bridge drive. The ship didn't just move faster than light. It skipped across dimensions, touching realities the Federation had never explored. The test vessel traveled from Earth to Proxima Centauri in 4 hours instead of 4 days. She recorded the results with shaking hands. They had done it. They had found a different path. The question now was what to do with it, and whether the galaxy was ready to discover that humanity had never really accepted their answer. The discovery of quantum bridge technology marked the beginning of what historians would later call the Great Silence. Though within human territories, silence was the last thing anyone experienced. Every research facility hummed with activity. Every shipyard worked triple shifts. Every mind connected to a purpose that transcended individual ambition. Elena stood before the United Earth Council, 5 years after the rejection, her presentation hologram casting blue light across the assembled faces of world leaders. The data she shared would have seemed like science fiction a decade ago. Now it was simply reality, humanity's reality, hidden from a galaxy that had stopped paying attention. We've achieved 17 major breakthroughs in propulsion alone, she explained, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was revealing. The quantum bridge drive is just the beginning. We've developed gravitational lens technology that makes our ships invisible to standard Federation sensors. We've created neural mesh networks that allow instantaneous communication across any distance. President Amara Okafor of the African Union leaned forward. And they know none of this? Nothing, Director Wu confirmed. We've been careful. Our test flights avoid all Federation space. Our communications are encrypted using mathematics they don't have. To them, we're still the primitive species that couldn't meet their standards. Chancellor Klaus Hoffmann from the European Confederation stroked his beard thoughtfully. This level of advancement in such a short time, it's unprecedented. What you're describing shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't be, Elena agreed. Not if we followed conventional approaches. But desperation breeds innovation. The Federation has been refining the same technologies for thousands of years. They're magnificent at optimization, but they've forgotten how to revolutionize. We haven't had time to forget. General Yuki Tanaka, commander of Earth's defensive forces, brought up a tactical display. We now have capabilities that exceed Federation standards in multiple areas. The question is no longer can we compete, but rather what do we do with this advantage? The room fell silent. It was Foreign Minister David Osei who finally spoke. We could reveal ourselves gradually, share our discoveries, prove we're worthy of membership through contribution rather than petition. They'll claim we stole the technology, Wu countered. Or worse, they'll see rapid advancement as threatening. Species don't leap ahead this fast without raising suspicions. Then what do you propose? Okafor asked. Wu glanced at Elena, who nodded. They had discussed this moment for months, planned for every possible reaction. We make a statement they cannot ignore, cannot dismiss, cannot explain away. We prove not just that we're advanced, but that we're essential. The plan he outlined was audacious to the point of madness. It would require coordination across hundreds of star systems, perfect timing, and technologies that humanity had only just mastered. It would also announce humanity's presence in a way that would fundamentally alter galactic politics. This could be seen as an act of war, Hoffman warned, or an invitation to negotiation. Osei replied, context is everything. The vote was not unanimous, but it passed. Humanity would step out of the shadows, and they would do so in a way that made their previous rejection impossible to justify. Dr. Kenji Matsuda took charge of the Stellar Engineering Project. At 41, he had spent the last 6 years developing ways to manipulate stellar matter from a distance. His team worked from a hidden facility in the Kuiper Belt, far from prying eyes, testing theories that most Federation scientists would have dismissed as fantasy. Stars are essentially giant fusion reactors, Kenji explained to his assembled team of 300 specialists. They operate on principles we understand, but at scales we've traditionally been unable to affect. The Federation can measure stars, study them, but they've never tried to communicate with them. His deputy, Dr. Fatima al-Rashid, pulled up a simulation. We're proposing to turn 50,000 stars into a synchronized display, each one pulsing with carefully timed variations in luminosity. It's not just about the technical challenge, it's about making something beautiful, something undeniable. The equipment needed was staggering. Humanity built gravitational modulators, each one capable of creating subtle changes in a star's fusion rate. They were small devices, no larger than a shuttle, but they required quantum bridge drives to position them and neural mesh networks to coordinate them. Captain Yuki Chen, no relation to General Tanaka despite sharing a surname, commanded the placement operations. Her ship, the Wanderer's Dream, was one of 50 vessels tasked with spreading across a quarter of the galaxy, planting devices in secret. How do we know the Federation won't detect us? Her navigator, Lieutenant Paulo Santos, asked during their first mission briefing. We don't, Yuki admitted, but our stealth technology bends light around us using gravitational lensing. Their sensors look for energy signatures, heat, radiation. We're giving them none of that. To their instruments, we're not there. The missions took 3 years. 50 ships, each making dozens of jumps, each one planting devices around distant stars. They worked in Federation space, often within light years of inhabited systems, and never once were they detected. It was the greatest intelligence operation in human history, and nobody outside human space knew it was happening. Elena continued her research during this time, but her focus shifted. She assembled a team to study Federation psychology, to understand how they thought, how they made decisions. Dr. Ibrahim Okonkwo, her younger brother, and a specialist in xenopsychology, provided crucial insights. The Federation operates on stability, Ibrahim explained during one of their regular sessions. They've existed for so long that change frightens them. New species are assessed not for what they might become, but for how they fit existing categories. We didn't fit, so we were rejected. How do they handle surprises? Elena asked, poorly. Their protocols are designed for predictability. When something unexpected happens, they convene committees, form study groups, debate endlessly. It's how they've maintained peace for so long. But it also makes them slow to respond. So if we give them something completely unexpected, something that doesn't fit any existing category, they'll have to pay attention. Ibrahim smiled. They'll have no choice. The question is whether they respond with curiosity or fear. The final piece came together when Dr. Nia Okafor, working independently at a research station near Neptune, solved the problem of conscious energy transfer. She discovered that human neural patterns could be encoded into quantum states and transmitted faster than thought itself. The implications were staggering. Within months, humanity had built the Nexus, a network that connected minds across light years. It wasn't telepathy exactly, but something close. A human on Earth could share experiences, emotions, even sensory data with someone orbiting Alpha Centauri. The connection was instant, perfect, and completely beyond anything the Federation possessed. Wu brought Elena and Ibrahim to the Nexus Control Center for a demonstration. Technician Li Wei, stationed on Mars, connected to the network. Suddenly, everyone in the room could feel what she felt, see what she saw, know what she knew. It was intimate, overwhelming, and beautiful. The Federation uses quantum Ansible technology, Wu said after they disconnected. It's fast, but it's still just data transmission. This is understanding transmission. We can coordinate military operations with perfect clarity. We can share scientific discoveries instantly. We can be truly united across any distance. It's also deeply personal, Ibrahim noted. This kind of connection, it changes people. We'll need psychological support systems, protocols for consent and privacy. We'll build them, Wu promised. But first we use this to ensure our statement is perfect. 50,000 stars pulsing in synchronization requires coordination beyond what conventional technology can provide. The Nexus makes it possible. As the decade mark of humanity's rejection approached, all pieces were in position. The devices were planted, the Nexus was operational, the fleet was ready. Elena stood in the command center and felt the weight of what they were about to do. The Federation's Grand Council meets in 6 months, Wu announced to the assembled leadership. Every member species will attend. They're celebrating their millennial anniversary. 1,000 gatherings of cooperation and peace. Perfect timing for a party crasher, General Tanaka said with grim satisfaction. Elena pulled up the message they had encoded into the stellar pulses. It was simple, elegant, and would be visible from every inhabited world in Federation space. Written in pure mathematics, the universal language, it would say something humanity had waited 10 years to express. You told us to wait. We chose to work. You told us we didn't matter. We chose to prove otherwise. You closed your door. We found another way in. We are humanity and we are here. The room erupted in discussion, people debating final details, raising last concerns. But Elena felt calm for the first time in years. They had been dismissed, rejected, told they were insufficient. Instead of accepting that judgment, they had transformed it into fuel, into purpose. The galaxy had given humanity a challenge, probably without meaning to. Now humanity was about to return an answer that would echo across the stars. The Nexus hummed with collective consciousness as millions of humans across hundreds of worlds connected simultaneously. Elena felt their presence not as voices but as warmth, as determination, as the shared weight of a species that had refused to be forgotten. This was the moment 10 years of work had built toward, and everyone wanted to witness it. Commander Jada Williams stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Rising, humanity's newest flagship. At 38, she had spent half her life training for a war that might never come, and hoping for a peace that seemed impossible. Today, she would lead humanity's fleet into Federation space for the first time in a decade, not as supplicants but as equals demanding recognition. All ships report ready, her tactical officer, Lieutenant Omar Hassan, announced. 50 vessels. Quantum bridge drives charged, stealth systems active. Jada connected to the Nexus, feeling the presence of every captain, every crew member across the fleet. This is not an invasion, she said, her words flowing through neural pathways faster than light. This is an introduction. We go in peace, but we go with strength. Make no mistake, today the galaxy learns that humanity cannot be dismissed. Across Federation space, billions of beings were celebrating the Millennial Council gathering. Representatives from 1,200 species had traveled to Unity Station, an artificial world built specifically for these grand assemblies. Markets bustled with exotic goods, cultural exchanges filled amphitheaters, and diplomatic negotiations happened in 1,000 elegant chambers. Ambassador Vorith of the Keltharian Dominion, a species that had been Federation members for 80,000 years, stood in the central observation deck watching the festivities. His crystalline body refracted light in patterns that expressed contentment. The Federation was stable, prosperous, peaceful. This was civilization at its finest. Have you heard the latest proposal regarding the rimward expansion? Asked his colleague Senator Thel from the Aquarian Collective. I reviewed it, Vorith replied, his light patterns shifting to indicate mild interest. Standard protocols, established procedures. It will pass with minimal debate, as it should. The Federation's strength lies in its predictability. Neither of them remembered humanity. Why would they? Earth had been one of thousands of species assessed over the millennia. Most were rejected and most accepted that rejection gracefully. The galaxy was vast and there was always room for development in one's own corner of space. In the Kuiper Belt, Dr. Kenji Matsuda sat at the master control station, his hands hovering over the activation sequence. Around him, hundreds of technicians monitored systems, checked calculations, verified quantum entanglement connections. Everything had to be perfect. Stellar manipulation devices report green across all 50,000 targets, Fatima announced. Nexus coordination locked. We have perfect synchronization. Kenji connected to the Nexus, feeling the presence of humanity watching, waiting. He thought about his daughter, Akiko, who had been born the year of the rejection. She was 10 now, growing up in a world that had been told it didn't matter. Everything they did today was for her generation, to give them a galaxy that saw them as equals. Director Wu, Kenji said, his voice carried through the Nexus to the command center in Geneva. We're ready to light the fire. Wu stood in a room filled with Earth's leadership, all of them connected to the Nexus, all of them about to experience the same moment simultaneously. President Okafor placed her hand on his shoulder, a gesture of support and shared responsibility. The Federation made us wait 10 years, Wu said quietly. Let's make sure they remember every second of what comes next. Dr. Matsuda, you have authorization. Show them what humanity has become. The activation was silent, invisible, faster than thought. Across a quarter of the galaxy, 50,000 gravitational modulators activated simultaneously, connected through the Nexus with coordination that would have been impossible using conventional technology. Each device sent carefully calculated gravitational pulses into the hearts of stars, causing fusion rates to fluctuate in precise patterns. On Unity Station, Vorith was discussing trade agreements when the alarms began. Not emergency alarms, but scientific anomaly warnings. His body flashed in confusion as he accessed the data feeds. Impossible, he breathed. Across Federation space, every astronomical observatory, every sensor array, every ship's navigation system registered the same thing. 50,000 stars, spread across 8,000 light-years, had begun pulsing in perfect synchronization. The pattern was mathematical, artificial, and completely beyond anything in Federation records. The pulses formed a message, written in the universal language of mathematics, visible to anyone with telescopes. The words blazed across the sky in light from distant stars. You said we were insufficient. You were wrong. Senator Thel stared at the data, her aquatic form rippling with shock. What species has this capability? Which member world failed to report such advancement? Check the coordinates, Vorith said, his light patterns flickering rapidly through calculations. Map the stars affected. When the pattern emerged, showing 50,000 stars arranged in a sphere centered on one particular region of space, Vorith felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Genuine surprise. The Orion Spur, he whispered. That's where Earth is located. But that's impossible. We rejected them. They didn't have this technology. They couldn't have developed it in merely 10 years. The message continued, new patterns forming as the stellar pulses evolved. We knocked on your door for years. You never answered, so we learned to move mountains. We learned to speak in starlight. We learned that your approval was never what mattered. What matters is what we chose to become. On Unity Station, the celebration had ground to a halt. 1,200 species stood in shocked silence as the impossible unfolded above them. The Grand Council convened an emergency session, representatives demanding explanations that nobody had. High Chancellor Mevran, a being whose species had led the Federation for 30,000 years, accessed every database, every record of Earth's assessment. They were classified as developmental, insufficient technology, no strategic value. How is this possible? His military advisor, General Kreeth, pulled up tactical assessments. Chancellor, the level of coordination required for this display suggests communication technology beyond our quantum Ansible networks. The precision indicates gravitational manipulation we don't possess, and the stealth required to place devices around 50,000 stars without detection implies capabilities we can't measure. Are we in danger? Unknown. This could be a demonstration of peaceful intent or a prelude to aggression. We have no framework for understanding species that advance this rapidly. Jada's fleet emerged from Quantum Bridge Transit at the edge of Unity Station's defense perimeter. 50 ships appearing simultaneously where nothing had been detected seconds before. The Federation's defense systems triggered immediately, but no weapons fired. Nobody knew what to do. "This is Commander Jada Williams of the Earth vessel Prometheus Rising," she broadcast on all Federation channels. "We request an audience with the Grand Council. We've been waiting 10 years for you to reconsider our application. We thought perhaps a demonstration of our current capabilities might help your deliberations." In the Nexus, Elena felt the mixture of pride and fear flowing through millions of human minds. They had done it. They had made the galaxy pay attention, but attention came with risks, and the next few hours would determine whether humanity had gained allies or created enemies. Vorith accessed the communication channel, his voice carrying the weight of thousands of years of diplomatic experience. "Earth vessels, you have violated multiple Federation protocols. You have demonstrated unauthorized technology. You have created what could be interpreted as a threatening display. Please explain your intentions." "Our intentions are the same as they were 10 years ago," Jada replied. "We wish to join the galactic community, but we will not beg for admission. We will not wait centuries while the galaxy decides if we matter. We are here. We are capable. And we are offering partnership, not submission." The Grand Council chamber erupted in debate. Some species called for immediate military response. Others urged caution, study, understanding. A few, mostly younger species who still remembered their own struggles for recognition, expressed something that might have been admiration. Chancellor Mevrin silenced the chamber with a gesture. "Earth has clearly undergone remarkable development. This council must decide how to respond. But first, I believe we owe them something we should have offered 10 years ago." He opened a channel to Jada's ship. "Commander Williams, on behalf of the Galactic Federation, I invite you and your delegation to address this council. We will listen to what you have to say." In Geneva, President Okafor felt tears on her face, though she couldn't say if they were from relief or emotion, or the overwhelming sense of connection flowing through the Nexus. Billions of humans shared this moment, felt this validation, understood that their species had just changed its destiny. Elena disconnected from the Nexus briefly, needing a moment of individual thought. They had proven humanity couldn't be ignored. They had forced the galaxy to see them. But she understood, perhaps better than most, that this was just the beginning. Real acceptance would take time, trust, and the willingness to be partners rather than conquerors. Director Wu appeared beside her, his aged face showing the exhaustion of a decade spent proving the impossible. "We did it," he said simply. "We got their attention," Elena corrected. "Now comes the harder part. Showing them why we deserve to keep it." Above them, through the windows of the command center, Earth rotated peacefully, a small blue world that had refused to accept its insignificance, that had turned rejection into revolution, that had taught itself to write messages in the language of stars. The galaxy had told humanity to wait. Humanity had chosen to rise instead, and in the fire they lit across the skies, every species learned a lesson that would echo through the ages. Never underestimate those who have nothing left to lose and everything to prove.